I'm Amy Morgan, the feature writer for the Marriage Initiative, and I'm just delighted to introduce you to Brad and Tami Miller. The Millers launched their ministry, Tandem Marriage, in 2015 after running the Restoration Counseling Service in Redlands, California for 15 years. Tandem Marriage has become the capstone of their decades of work helping couples through coaching and leading marriage ministry at their church. The name Tandem Marriage was inspired by a bicycle built for two that allows people to share the fun of a joint adventure if they're riding in harmony together. Brad is an ordained pastor who spent 26 years as a professional firefighter, while Tami has been working as a marriage and family therapist for 20 years. The authors of Ready to Surrender, Poor Communication in Marriage is a Battle You Can Win. They also speak, write blogs, and share many free resources on their Tandem Marriage website. Brad and Tami, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Amy.
That was a fun intro.
I
Let's
know.
do it again.
I want to know them.
It had some tongue twisters. I'm glad I was able to say everything without tripping over it. Oh, well, tell us about your bike. I wanted to sing my Daisy Daisy song, but I will refrain. How did the bike inspire you? I hear it has a name.
Well, we have two of them.
Yes.
And the newer one has a name, Tango the Tandem. Sort of brings up images of dancing together, which it often feels like dancing together. But the story is our second Christmas, I thought it would be a great idea to buy Tami a tandem bike. After I put some money down, I panicked and I thought, oh my gosh, she's going to hate it. The good news is she loved it.
I did.
We've taken that original bike, candy apple red. It's like a little sports car, but it's really cute. We've taken that all up and down California. We've ridden in Yosemite. We've ridden at most of the beaches.
We have pictures of our kids with a seat in the back and it's in the front. And so there's been 4 on that bike.
Family bike.
When they were little.
Wow. That's a lot of responsibility to not get a bike with your whole family on it.
And I didn't kill anybody. And then about 10 years ago, because of our work together, we decided it would be a great idea to be able to take other couples out. We actually mentor a lot of pastoral couples to take them out on these tandem bike weekends. So we have 2 bikes. We always let them pick which one they want. And then we ride the other one. And it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh, that just sounds so neat. I know I had the opportunity to jump behind my husband on a scooter. You know, one of those that you can just like click your Uber app or whatever, and you click on it. And we were visiting my son, and that was terrifying. Hanging on.
Yes. Yes.
I've ridden one of those with my son-in-law in Denver in the snow. Yeah.
Okay, you got me beat.
Yeah.
You got me beat. I have to say, I kind of liked it when I had my own scooter and we could ride next to each other.
There you go.
But maybe that kind of defeats the tandem purpose.
Yeah.
So how exactly does the bike fit in with the metaphor that you use as you work with couples, or how it worked with you?
I mean, it's really interesting because people will watch us riding the bike, and Tami's an introvert. She doesn't at all seek attention, but we just love riding the bike. We sort of get in our own little zone, but you will see people watching us and pointing, and it's sort of this idea, like they see it happening and they think it looks magical and effortless. And to us riding the bike, it's anything but. It's fun.
Lot of work. It's a blast, but it's some work.
It's fun, but we have to be in sync pedaling. We have to be, I mean, honestly, I had to learn this the hard way. It's called the hard way for a reason, which is that I really need to communicate well with Tami. Hey, there's a left turn coming up ahead, or I have to go up a driveway, or there's a little bump coming, or like all of those things that she can't see because she's behind me. Yeah. Which being behind me would be terrifying. So all things we've had to learn to navigate together, which does make it now look like we're doing something pretty effortless.
We mostly ride on beach boardwalks or strands. And so we laugh because I can see some sand on the boardwalk, on the strand about a mile ahead.
We'll call it a potential threat.
Exactly.
Yes, I'm that way. Yes.
So I'm warning him, there's sand up ahead, slow down, don't take that turn too sharp. So again, the communication, and he could not say anything and just take charge, or he could remember that we're doing this together. And basically reassure me that, okay, I see it as well, or thank you. And we know how to navigate together through this, because I need to learn to lean in just a certain way to be able to make that turn so the bike doesn't slide out from underneath of us.
In every possible way, we've learned to be in sync.
Yes.
Yes.
I love it. Well, and I love how that is a real metaphor for how couples can communicate and work together in marriage. But that's kind of your hallmark. I mean, you've been counselors and coaches for decades. Tell us about your journey.
Well,
where do you want to start?
Yeah. When our girls were young, I went back to school, graduate school. We were youth pastors at the time, and really felt inspired to want to do more to help families. And so I went back to graduate school and finished that degree and did an internship while we had 2 young kids, and Brad was a full-time firefighter. So yeah, it was a lot.
And a pastor and an ordained pastor.
Yes. At the time, yes, we were actually, we were doing a lot. But God was right there helping us through it. We all got through it. And then I actually went on the journey to get licensed. And after I was licensed, we opened a private practice, which turned into a group practice that we called Restoration Counseling Service. And we had up to 20 employees at one point, 20 on staff. And we were known as the top counseling practice, group practice in the area. And we just flourished in that and helped a lot of people coming our way, and a lot of churches really trusted us. And we actually just at the end of December of 2023, we decided to sell it and pour more into Tandem Marriage.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, your retirement plan.
I know. You're going to ask us questions about that, yeah?
What Tami won't tell you is she has always had this intuition or this discernment that she just, part of it is the way God wired her as a woman, and part of it is just a gift. But she's always had this discernment. True story, before we were married and I was dating somebody else, I used to ask her advice because, a guy trying to figure out a girl, it just seemed overwhelming.
And what I wanted to say was, why don't you just like me?
But she's always had this discernment. And then when she went back to school, it was really her opportunity to sort of press into that and to get some tools and skills to help her use that. She's actually really phenomenal. She won't tell you that, but she is.
It was a lot of fun, a lot of work, and trained up. I think it was close to over in the 20s, almost close to 30 different clinicians along the journey that actually a lot of them started their own private practices and helped launch them. And that are still practicing today.
Oh, I love it. Well, and I love that you alluded to your even your pre-dating. You guys were friends since middle school, right?
I think I was 13.
Yeah.
Tami would have been 12
or 13. Yeah. Yes. Our older brothers were best friends in high school, and that's how I met Brad. I've known his family for a very long time. In fact, I knew his older brother before I knew Brad, and then Brad came with him one time, and I said, I like him. He's cute.
Oh, well then, and years later, like 5 years later or something, also being friends, y'all married, but you realized that was not the easiest transition that you thought it was going to be, right?
Well, we dated, true. Yes, we dated for about 5 years, and I think I was a senior in high school for about 4 or 5 years, and then got married, and then about 5 years after we have our first daughter, and 5 to 8 years in there got a little bit rough, and we actually came from families that were all divorced, including our parents and siblings. So I have 2 brothers. Brad has 3 brothers, and our parents, just between our immediate families, there's 13 divorces. Yeah. And so that's all we knew was an exit plan.
That's a real weight if you think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, about 5 or 6 years in, I realized that while I still loved Tami deeply, I realized it was this awful moment that I realized I didn't know a lot of stuff, and I didn't know what I didn't know.
We didn't know what to do.
It was terrifying. So it was really at that point that we just started reaching out to other people. We latched onto a pastor and his wife at a small church in our area, and they really became our first marriage mentors. We didn't know what that was at the time. They sort of saved our bacon in more ways than one.
We had some neighbors around the corner that had some kids about 3 or 4 years older than our kids. And so we had gotten close to them, and they were helping us along the way too. And really just started seeing how helpful having mentors that are 5-10 years ahead of you, how you can get through things because it feels normal, and they can give you a different plan, especially if you come from broken homes like we did.
Yeah. I just think for our marriage champions, especially, that this is so helpful for them to hear. So many of our leaders have kind of had their dark night of the soul of their time in marriage that was rough. You know, even little kids alone in a marriage can make things a little bit strained. But at that time, but then they'll have couples that will come to them and they can tell them the things that you did, that you reached out for mentors. You started to go. You said that you started like going to every conference that you could.
Yes.
Yeah, every conference that we could. We would actually, when we would see an older couple who looked like they had marriage figured out, like that we didn't know, we would see couples in a restaurant, and we would, sheepishly come up and say, "Hey, we haven't been married very long. We wonder if we could ask some marriage secrets." And they
really
would always talk to us. So we've got a list a mile long of those people we talked to, books, conferences, couples that mentored us. I mean, it really was all of the little things that we did consistently over time. It really was refusing to give up. There's actually some incredible statistics that we know about now that say that couples that don't give up usually get through it.
5 years later.
We didn't know that at the time, but we stuck it out and we got through it. And now on the other side of that, it actually seems crazy at times when couples are coming to us for help. And, there's still that piece of us that in humility knows we came from a very broken place and says, gosh, it's just amazing what God can do.
I mean, we had, like you said, Amy, we were young, we didn't have much money, but we would scrimp and save and go to a marriage conference. If we had a book in our house, we had time to read it or we can afford it, it was a book on marriage. We really saturated ourselves. We wanted to do something different. And about that same time, that 5 to 8 year time in our marriage, all of our friends around us, many of them also started divorcing.
Brothers, friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
All of a sudden there was all these divorces. And so we just hung on for dear life and dove into the church and stayed completely committed to the church, mentors, and learning all that we could.
There was sort of a desperation for a number of years for us, and realizing now that it was a good desperation, but it was desperation.
Well, all this has motivated you. What God was equipping you for the things that you needed to launch Tandem Marriage and to be a help for so many. So tell us, you have some great resources. I already mentioned in the introduction, a lot of stuff on there is free.
Yes.
I've been like sending your email and your website.
Thank you, Amy.
Around. So, so let's talk about it. What will people find when they go there? How can they on-ramp with you?
Great question.
Yes,
Thank
great
you.
question.
Probably one of the things that we use the most with couples is our blog. Our blog has about 75 articles. Most of them have 3 to 5 discussion questions. And the way we love for couples to use those is to start a conversation. In other words, it's not what's going to be the most impactful for couples is not what I say to somebody or what Tami says to somebody. It's going to be them reading this article together that takes them about 5 minutes. It's them working through these discussion questions together and discovering things about each other. So we love to use that. Those all come from real life situations that have happened with couples that we've worked with over the years. Or
in our own situations.
Yes. We also have a feeling words chart, which is sort of a funny thing because, guys get terrified when you talk about feelings. They really do. We spoke last weekend in Montana at a marriage conference, and I sort of at a church, and I sort of mistakenly said, guys, it's not the F word. It seems like it's just feelings. And
The pastor went.
Couple eyes got really big, but the truth
Everyone's heard that. It's on media enough with the little bleep.
So the feelings words chart really is a bridge to get husbands and wives identifying what those feelings mean for each of them. Just as recent as a couple of days ago, Tami asked a couple to define the same word because they were tripping up on it. And they used very different definitions for the same word. So the feeling words chart can sort of help unify couples, give them some language and a common understanding. We've got some fun stuff on there. The lovers post-it notes, I actually think is really, really fun.
Before you talk about the Post-it notes, I want to return to the feelings. What
Yeah.
would be, because sometimes when a word's kind of broad, what would a feeling word be? Like when you're talking about that one, what is something? Because people maybe, again, it's kind of woo-woo. And what does that mean?
Yeah. Someone might say that they're mad about something. And so the feelings word chart where we'll say is like, okay, look across the top. I mean, it just seems so simple, but then when you start doing it, you're thinking, I really don't know as much about feelings as I thought I did. So we'll say, look, okay, you think you're mad. And then there's a whole list of descriptors.
Ranges of mad.
Yes. And so there's different words that could, that actually describe it.
Disgusted, angry,
right. And
frustrated.
it starts from some basic ones that we say those are manageable. Those are feelings that are manageable, that you still are empowered to be able to do something with it. And then when it starts going a little deeper, like outraged, okay, now you've given up control.
Okay.
And so we show them that. But another thing that happens sometimes, Amy, is they'll look down that column of descriptors and they'll say, I'm not sure if I identify with any of these. And I'll say something like, well, maybe why don't you go over to the feelings word called lonely?
Yeah. Aha. Yes.
And they'll just,
yes.
So they'll discover that they don't even know what to call the emotion that they're expressing.
And by the way, that is fairly common, that somebody is angry and discovers that they're lonely. But it's playing out as anger.
Oh, I love too that you also, I mean, you totally just gave us for at least me and our marriage champions, kind of that aha moment of, oh, I see what you're saying. But you also demonstrated how the resources that you have there can be used in a coaching session.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
That's what you do when you're talking with the people you coach. Often you send them back to read the blog and do that little 5-minute to get them primed for what you're going to help them walk through, right? Do you want to explain a little bit about that? Because you do that through, you do that all over.
All over the United States, yes, we do. Want to share with them?
About using the blog?
No, about coaching.
Oh, yes. So we currently coach 9 to 12 couples every week from all over the country. Again, it's pretty phenomenal, this technology that we can use to meet with couples all over the country. And it is very unique that we're meeting with a couple as a couple. We don't work with any individuals at all. There are times when somebody just relates to Tami better, and that could be the husband or the wife. There's times when somebody will connect with me better. That could be the husband or the wife. But we are intentionally very balanced at how we approach that and how we gain and win trust with people. And it really gives us some incredible insights and a lot of really great times working with couples.
The whole idea is there's not a side, there's a marriage. So it's not we're on his side or her side, we're on the side of the marriage. And so we make that very clear so they never feel like anybody's being villainized, no matter what the problem is, all the way from we do an awful lot of betrayal work. A lot. I have a lot of experience in that in my professional licensed counselor world, and about 18 plus years of that. And so Brad and I do a lot of that together, betrayal work. And then just from young couples that their first year of marriage and they didn't know what they were doing like we didn't. And man, so proud of them getting a head start of correcting these challenges that they're facing so they don't make so many mistakes and have a lot of injuries in their marriage.
Yeah. And people can get on your, I'm assuming that you're much in demand, but people can get on your list like 9 to 12. And you do intensives too, right? Where you would take someone.
We were planned on, well, the intensives, yes, that's the bike. We can do that, an intensive. We haven't been doing as much of that because our schedule's so busy, but yes, we can do something like that as well.
Yeah, the bike trip. But I love that. And that you'll also, you'll get them started with the blog and get them, because you said too, like your book is about conflict, right? The Ready to Surrender, Poor Communication in Marriage is a battle you can win. And you were saying something about conflict and communication. And I love the way you put it. I'll let you say it.
So the interesting thing, well, we say about the book that it's the book that everybody needs, but nobody wants, because talking about conflict in marriage is not as sexy as talking about love in marriage.
They like to call it communication problems.
Yes. And this is some interesting intel we got from running a group counseling practice for many years, is that over 90% of couples will come to us and say they're having communication problems. and the truth is, once we start peeling back the layers, they don't know how to manage conflict well. So, it's that idea that how do you practice communication every day, yet you get worse and worse and worse at it, and now your marriage is really struggling. And it doesn't make sense, because that's not the problem. It's conflict that's not managed well.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you get them out of that toxic cycle?
Well, usually we try to have them be more self-aware. And so it's the tensions building within ourselves, but it's easier to blame it on our spouse. And so once they become more self-aware and what's going on in me, basically like, why is this frustrating me so much?
Yeah.
Why do I feel so angry about this? Why do I feel so rejected right now? Why do I feel shut down? And really sitting with that. And it's easy to say, well, it's because Brad's doing this and this. That's why. But we always tell couples the problems they're having today started before they ever met. Yeah. And so the challenges they're having in their marriage, the tension that's building, the conflict that's arising is only exposing things in them that were already in there that we need to work on. And when you do it together, and I'm more aware of what Brad's, sensitivities are, or his core wounds, whatever you want to call it, things that his triggers, hot buttons, we'll call it,
landmines.
Yeah. If I know what they are, then I should be more considerate of that. It's not my responsibility to fix it or tiptoe and walk on eggshells, but to be considerate. Absolutely. But spend more time looking at myself. If he hits one of my hot buttons, it's like, where's this come from?
Yeah.
So in Ready to Surrender, there's really a lot of very practical tips and tools that allow couples to sort of slow things down. This is a really important part of the work we do with couples, teaching them to slow things down so that they can identify themselves what those triggers and hot buttons are. Honestly, when they can slow down, they can see them. But when they just blaze past them because emotions are high, they don't see them. And that's when they think they have trouble with communication.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Well, it sounds really reasonable. And when you, again, just your calm voice and the way you explain that, we laugh sometimes that, you come into marriage with a semi truck full of your baggage, and you hope that your kids will leave with a little overnight case, maybe.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But what happens is you get into your marriage about 5 years in, kids, picture careers, trying to pay rent or mortgage, and you start unpacking the semi.
Yeah.
So you thought it was the duffel bag. It looks like it's this huge semi.
There's a lot of junk in here.
I know we had a big semi.
Oh, well, that is, to deal with that. And you were there to help, and you do that with the couples, but you guys also have a very busy and thriving ministry at your church.
We do.
It's a huge church. What, 4,500 people you said on a
and growing. Yes. 4,500 and 15 campuses. And
you lead the marriage ministry for the whole shebang.
On the main,
the
largest campus, which is the 4,500 person. Yes.
Wow. And you have a whole strategy of how you do that. And you're actually helping other churches follow your framework. So let's talk about that.
Yep. So that strategy really starts with building a team. We call them marriage mentors. They're phenomenal.
Marriage heroes.
Yeah, they are our marriage heroes, because we can talk about marriage all day long to 4,500 or more people. But when they need help, when they pull the trigger and say, hey, we need to do something, we're not okay being not okay, we're ready to do something, we need a team of people to help them. Mm-hmm. So our marriage mentors are really sort of our front line. And when somebody says, hey, we're having some bumps, or we're having some big bumps in the road and they need some help, we'll connect them with one of our marriage mentor team couples. They'll walk with them usually 4 to 6 times, walk alongside them and help them with some skills and different ways of looking at things and understanding each other better. We also do a marriage event on the first of every month that we call Marriage First. That's a larger event. Everybody shows up. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of high paced. We have a date night giveaway. We have some discussion time. And honestly, we often use one of our blog articles as sort of a framework for that, because those are the questions that people are asking. And then we just started this year adding, we do some marriage community groups every even month, where it's a little smaller, a little more intimate. And we're allowing those couples that want to go deeper to really dig in deeper.
Yeah, so they sit in a community through the whole month of other couples and go through the discussion questions or the curriculum that we're giving them, and be able to spend time unpacking that and feel normal again. Just it's like, wow, you go through that too. And give them hope. That's the whole idea of mine. Brad and I just want to give people hope, like people gave us hope that they could thrive. They really can. And so, yeah, we're loving it. We are very, very busy, but we're doing all the things that we love to do. And that's what's so important. We do love doing it. And really, you can't do something at a church, especially one of the fastest growing churches in America, like the one we were at, without a team. And so Brad and I can't do that by ourselves. So the first place for churches to start is to build a team, have find leaders and have them build a team.
Well, I love that you mentioned team, because that was one of the hallmarks that I was going to have you share a little bit more, go a little deeper, because that's what you do, mentoring your mentors. With a church of that size, you cannot be the pastoral counselor to everybody, but you are helping, you're loving on and training and equipping your marriage mentors. So talk about that, because I think that's some place that our marriage champions could really find some good tips for them.
So what we told couples, if they were interested in being mentors, is if as a couple they will mentor other couples, and that what we want to do to equip them is to help them have a thriving marriage. So that's where our mentors get the most of us.
So the idea is we pour into you so that you can pour into others.
You can't help but want to pour into others.
We're blessing you so that you can be a blessing to others. So we want them to have not perfect marriages. We want them to have great marriages.
So we'll spend time with them. We'll maybe meet with one of the mentor couples for dinner, lunch, or breakfast periodically. And then we also do a training video once a month. It's about 20, 30 minutes long. That's about how to enrich their marriage. And it also helps them. They might be working with a couple that's they think, gosh, that they would benefit from this. And then we also give them an article, So we give the video, we enrich their marriage and try to meet with them. And if they ever get stuck, which we've had some of our mentor couples saying, we're going to take a break because we're stuck in our own marriage.
We're in trouble.
And so we'll meet with them a couple times to get them unstuck and wait for them to get to a better place.
Well, some churches have a hard time finding, recruiting volunteers and that. But again, if we were at your church, I bet everyone's waiting in line to get that one-on-one with you guys. That just sounds fantastic.
The truth is, and I don't think it's because it's us, but the truth is, when we get in front of the church and we talk about marriage, people identify with what we're talking about. And again, I don't think it's because it's us. So we get in front of the church, we talk about marriage. We have dozens and dozens of people contacting us that day, the following week, saying, hey, this is what we want to do. We talked about it. This is what we want to do. How do we sign up? So that's the great part. There's people that want to help, and we need the help. So we'll take it.
Oh, I love it.
We don't want to have mentor couples that are perfect. If they say, oh, our marriage is fantastic.
We never fight.
We never fight. It's like, I don't think we want
There
you.
isn't perfect. I don't.
Right. And so we're looking for couples that are looking to thrive, that they're in a good place. Doesn't have to be a great place, a good place, so we can get them to thriving, and then they'll be able to help other couples.
I love it.
We have a funny little phrase that we use when a couple comes to us and they haven't had enough bumps in the road yet. We say,
need more mud on their tires.
Yeah.
That definitely, I can identify with that. So there's nothing more beautiful than really seeing a seasoned older couple and just seeing that genuine love and affection. You guys are going to be celebrating your 40th anniversary on Easter 2025.
On Easter Sunday this year. Yes, we are.
It is such a humbling miracle that we made it this far, because statistically speaking, we shouldn't be here, and we are, and it really is by God's grace that we're here. So it's amazing.
Oh, I love that. My husband and I actually will be 30 years the weekend after y'all in 2020.
Oh,
So we're right there behind you. There's just a couple things I don't want to forget to include because I want our marriage champions to know at Marriage First that at your church you scheduled your enrichment event at a really interesting time. Can you just share that, because I've never really heard anything like that before? But for some marriage leader or marriage champion, I think they're going to go, "Oh, I could do that." So could you share that really quick, Lee?
I can do that.
Mhm.
So our church on Saturday nights, they have 2 Saturday services and 3 on Sunday. So on Saturday evening, there's a 4 o'clock. And so our couples can come to the 4 o'clock. And if they have kiddos, go to the kids programming, tell the kids programming that after service, they're going to stay and go to the Marriage First event, and their kids can actually stay the entire time. And they're set up to do that with snacks and more activities. And we've never had ever a parent say our kids just couldn't do it. They're very intentional in the church kids programming, and they want the couples to go. So they want the kids to have fun and look forward to it as well. And so that's what we found has been the most helpful, that they can come, they know their kids are close by. So that's not a worry for them. And even now that we've started the marriage community groups, which is the smaller groups, they can do the same thing at that time as well. And so we have a group of young couples that all have littles that come from about 30 miles away. Wow. And they come and they said that they were trying to do a community group at their house, marriage community group, and they said it was just too hard with the kids and too distracting. So they're willing to drive 30 minutes, and they said their kids love it.
Oh, and they all are part of the community. That is just so smart and such a creative way to address, to just provide that resource and address that need. And I wanted to make sure you highlighted that, because that's one of the strategies that you offer for churches. So, for marriage leaders could reach out to you and find some other great things like that.
It really was in the beginning. That was one of the first things we identified, was that it had to line up with some kind of really great childcare or children's programming. If we couldn't figure that piece out, we'd really be stuck.
Yeah, that is such great wisdom, all of it, from the starting to the beginning, and even riding on tango. I'm just so intrigued by that. But Brad and Tami, thank you so much for being here.
We're glad to be here.
It's a lot of fun. So much, Thank you, Amy.
Oh, and marriage champions, if you'd like more information about Brad and Tami, Tandem Marriage, or how you could join them and ride on that bike, you can always find us at marriageinitiative.org or marriageresources.org.